People really end up losing their mind trying to make you lose yours. Like, they sit and plan and gang stalk you all day, every day, thinking of ways that they can make you lose your mind. First, they'll spiritually try to attack you, and then they'll try to mentally attack you, try to get in your head. And then if that doesn't work, they will literally up the ante and try to physically attack you. They know they can't just come up to you and like start swinging on you or something. So what they'll do is like try to send somebody. Like, they'll literally try to send somebody to you to physically harm you. Like, literally, like, just to ambush you in a grocery store or something. Like, just trying to find a way to make you lose your mind. And then they see that none of the tactics work. Like, they weren't able to make you lose your mind. They weren't able to make you go crazy. And the more that they see that you're keeping your peace, the more that they lose the peace that they never had. Because seeing you stay in your power upsets them, because they want to see you come off your throne so bad. They want to see you lose your mind. They want to be the reason you lose your mind. So seeing you staying calm and, composed upsets them even more, because they're like, what is it that I need to do to knock this person off their rocker? They literally start going crazy, trying to make you go crazy. They ain't get no sleep, bags under their eyes, dark eyes, all type of baggage. They start to age quicker. They stop taking care of themselves because they've completely neglected themselves, all because they want to channel all their energy towards attacking you. They start to lose their own minds, trying to make you lose yours. Like, they don't get that what's for you will always be for you. They can't take it from you. They don't realize that they don't have the power to make you lose your mind. They wish that they had the power to make you lose your mind, to make you go crazy, to make you quit, to make you give up, to make you go into hiding. And maybe at one point they did have the power, but they don't no more. And they desperately want to be able to have that. They want to see you lose your mind so bad that it'll never happen. So because you are staying in your power, it's causing them to lose their minds. So it backfired. So they doing all that to make you lose your mind. But then they don't want to end up losing their mind. How ironic.
What is scary and astonishing to me is the way narcissistic people tend to rewrite reality and paint you as the aggressor or the perpetrator in their story. And the scary part about it is that not only do they believe it, their village believes it, their group, their friends, whoever's in their circle, enablers or some more abusers. That's scary.
Understanding flying monkey psychology does not require you to hate the people who participated in it. It requires you to understand that their presence in your post-relationship life is not neutral. Every flying monkey is a data channel back to the narcissist. Every interaction is intelligence. Now, the most protective response is the same as it is with the narcissist directly. Emotional unavailability, strategic disengagement, and removal of data access.
If a person can provoke you, trigger you, and get in your head enough, then you will manifest their objective and agenda against yourself for them, even without them being there. I did a presentation on narcissists with the hoovering, the stalking, the gang stalking.
You're stalking me. You're stalking me.
All right, I'm gonna go.
You're hi 911.
And a lot of different psychological tactics that they use in groups and why they actually recruit and what their overall goal and their main objectives are as it relates to you. About maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago or something like that. But this was my little whiteboard that I came up with for the reason why narcissists, for the most part, are aiming for your mental stability, why that is so important to them, and why it is so sinister and so nefarious. And just to kind of revisit this topic, for a lot of people who are either going through this thing or have already overcame that, it's so important to always remember that if there is a narcissist in your life that has tried to mentally destabilize you, meaning drive you to the brink of insanity, and actually put that narrative on you that you are unstable or that you are mentally ill or that they're so concerned about your mental health or that you're so impaired that you're not functional, anything like that, where they just haphazardly just call you crazy and stuff like that, it is so important for you to understand that if nothing ever came of it in terms of like justice for you, and you never really felt vindicated, and no real reprimand came to that person as it relates to the many violations that they did concerning you, it is going to be so important for you to understand that that person, if they are still around you in any way, they're not going to ever stop trying to find vulnerable moments to exploit your humanity. And it doesn't mean that you have to live your life in fear or paranoia or even hysteria, but it's so important for you to understand that these people, they never stop. Because it's not really a person that you're dealing with, I think a lot of us have already kind of concluded that when you're dealing with sociopathic, psychopathic, and narcissistic people, it has nothing to do with you as a person, but everything to do with control, domination, and you being a threat to their illusionary life. The fact that most of everyone around them does not know them. I don't care if they're friends, family, co-workers, whomever. The average person who has been around that person or those people for even the majority of their lives, they do not know them. They don't know what they're capable of. And somehow we cross paths with these people, the healers, the anointed people, people who are more prone to positivity, the bubbly people, the whimsical people, happy people. Even despite your flaws and your shortcomings, there's something in your spirit that ends up allowing you to cross paths with these people who eventually become a catalyst to your growth in very, very interesting ways. You run across these individuals and you literally see Satan himself. Some of the things in which they do to people and the violations that they do, many people would never even imagine, because they wear such a calculated mask and it's so casual and they look and seem so normal. It is very hard for them to believe some of the things in which they have done to you, even if you provide the proof, because the mask that they wear with various different people, not just one group of people, multiple groups of people, it is charming, accommodating, helpful, nice, kind, overly friendly, comedic. It's all these light-hearted things. And many people would never suspect that the person who appears to be normal or happy or the life of the party or just always so light-hearted and so laid back could be as demented and as dark as you know them to be. So some of the things that they do are so outlandish with the intent to drive you insane and make you question your reality, because if you ever repeat it, nobody will believe you. You would literally be working against their mask. However, you can sit there and compile all of the evidence. And I talk to my clients about building the folder. Many of my clients that I talk to, they know we talk about building that case folder. Even if you do that, people who like the personality and are addicted to the dopamine rush that the narcissist gives them, you can have all the proof. You can catch them red-handed in 2K and people will still deny that it happened. Or they will actually play devil's advocate and say, well, nobody is perfect. And even if it did happen, people can grow. And I'm sorry that happened to you. What did you do to them? It does not matter. When people are addicted to the personality of an individual, they like who they like and they don't come to the aid of who they don't like. Or it can be a situation where the individual creates some level of comfort for that person through pleasantries and doing nice and overly accommodating things. So people will turn a blind eye even with evidence in hand. It doesn't matter. So when you're dealing with a situation like that, it's important to understand that the overall goal is destabilization. That's the ultimate goal. And for a lot of these people, a lot of it is you not being able to be controlled. Okay. And then also, if you are spiritually gifted, it's you knowing information that you should not know as it relates to them. Many people who are spiritually gifted do not even know that they are until they find out that they are, after somebody ends up trying to punish them for their nature. If you know, unfortunately, you know. There are a lot of people who have a lot of gifts that they are not consciously aware of, that allows them to get messages in many various different ways about people, where God gives them revelations and they have prophetic gifts that they were unaware of. And the way that they educate the enemy unknowingly is because they will say something about the person that no one else knows, and the person wouldn't even think that they would know, because that person physically hasn't been around them to see that part of their life. But you will mention something as it relates to a secret life that they live, and you're not supposed to know that information. And when it comes to sociopathic and psychopathic people, they're not going to ask you, oh, how do you know that, or anything like that. They are just going to collect the intel on it, and they may go ask someone else. They may go inquire to someone else that may be spiritually gifted, or somebody else that may be some counsel or something like that. But very seldomly do they let you know that you're not supposed to know what you know. But they will punish you later because you're not supposed to know that. But they have to study you to see if you are aware of your ability. Okay? These are your sick and twisted, dark and demented, spiritually secretive narcissists. These are people that you don't even know that they're into dark arts or the occult, or because they find out that you're a little bit different than the average person, they might get into the occult to try to get some understanding of what you are and why you function the way you function, and just trying to tap into that spiritual illegal surveillance aspect to monitor you and find out a little bit more about you, how you operate, how your brain works, and things that they have no business prying into, but they will, especially for spiritually gifted people. They will. You know, there's a saying that we have heard over the years where people say, people will see your light before you do. People will see you before you do. A lot of people who have dealt with this agenda to mentally destabilize you, that has been the threat. People or a person knowing that you are rare, or knowing that you are different than the average person, and wanting to get to the source of the gift that you have by way of aiming for your mind. They will aim for your mind. They're not trying to cause you emotional heartbreak. They're aiming for your mind. Once you inflict enough psychological damage on a person, you can literally break a person's neurological pattern. You can create a split and a crack in a person mentally. And from out of the mind, all things come. From out of the mind, all things come, because thoughts become things. And when you are a person who is very intelligent and also gifted, but unaware, when you are a person who is very intelligent, but also gifted, but unaware, it creates a weakness in you where you're not able to access what you do not know. If you don't know what your strengths and weaknesses are, you won't be able to minimize your weaknesses and maximize your strengths, because you don't have conscious awareness of who you are. You don't know thyself. So thyself could be used against thyself. And that is what happens when you come across sociopathic, psychopathic, and very covert narcissists. These people have access to dark intelligence by way of the occult and by way of their connection through spiritual manipulation and energetic manipulation. And even if they don't, they will get it just so that they can try to conquer you. For a lot of people, when they are mad or when they are upset that they can't get their way with people, they're provoked to anger, and then they want to go out and touch the person. And then they have to deal with the possibility of going to jail and dealing with the repercussions of that. When they are dealing with someone that is spiritually gifted or highly intelligent or very spiritually sensitive, those people have studied that person enough to know that they can't just square on try to hurt that individual, because maybe it won't look right. Okay, for many different reasons, depending on how you present or where you are in terms of the hierarchy of life. It may not look right, and it'll put them in the position where they look like the bad guy. Narcissists never want to look like the bad guy. So what they will do is throw a rock and hide their hand. What better way to throw a rock than to destabilize a person with witchcraft and black magic and spiritual manipulation? Because it is a way to send a person down a spiral without them knowing the source from which it came. even if you don't know the source of the attack, you can just look at the timing as an indication to uncover the possible identity of the person who's perpetrating or trespassing against you. I mean, how ironic would it be that when you cut off a certain individual or make a decision to move on with your life, that all of these bad things start happening one after another, like a domino effect? Post separation from people, you'll also start to notice that that individual will become very cocky, very confident, very arrogant in that time. So with that energetic or spiritual ambush, and with them sending all of that psychological warfare towards you and also getting others involved to be bidding pawns in their game, they become very arrogant because they believe that you are destabilizing, you're out for the count as it relates to your confidence and as it relates to your social positioning in this hierarchy that we call a society. It is very strategic. They are very calculated. And they believe that they have framed a narrative around your identity so carefully that people will believe them because they speak so casual. If you've ever talked to one of these sociopathic people, it is casual the way they talk about people that they make it seem like have done them wrong. They don't have these long pauses. They don't seem like they're making it up as they go. They just casually mention something about the person that's negative, something that you may not even know anything about, especially when people don't intimately know you or intimately know whoever they're talking about. They'll just say, well, you know, such and such. Well, you don't know her or you don't know him, but you know, that person has done this and they did that. And I just couldn't take it. And, you know, I was very concerned about them because I mean, the way that they were acting towards me, it was just crazy. I just felt like I was always under attack. I know they come across like they're all put together and that they're perfect and stuff like that, but you have no idea how that person is behind closed doors. I went through it. And, you know, I've just been fighting for this and fighting for that. And it's just been a major injustice. And everything that they're doing to you, they'll say that you're doing to them. And because they have destabilized you so much by stalking you, getting other people to stalk you, harassing you in very subtle and covert ways, lying and smearing you, you become paranoid in terms of your trust with people. So you may retreat and you may become a recluse in different seasons of your life because you don't really know who to trust. And once you pull back from people, it is even more easy for them to create a narrative and dominate the way that people view you and their perception of you because you're not around. If you're not around, and if you're out for the count, then people don't really have anything to compare and contrast their narrative with or to. So that just means that people just believe whatever they say. Like I said, if they're greasing people palms with money here and there, if they're always getting people gifts during major holidays, if they are the life of the party and bringing all the alcohol and telling all of the jokes, or if they're helping people move at the drop of a dime and just overly accommodating people, patting the heads of babies and helping old ladies in the house with their groceries, and to just seem like an overall breath of fresh air to people, they are more prone to believing the good guy or the good girl before they will believe someone that is coming out of isolation. Nobody has seen you in months to a year. Nobody really knows you because maybe you're to yourself, or maybe you value your privacy and you just don't allow people to see the many nuances and layers and multifaceted aspects of you. Right? Because you're not a narcissist. You don't have to, you scratch my back, I scratch yours to people just to get ahead in life. So they already have that social advantage over you because they have made themselves familiar in the environment that they dominate as it relates to you. So that is the deficit for you. So when you're in a situation like that, you cannot play square for square because they have more social advantages than you, especially if you are maybe a little neurodivergent, people who have ADD, ADHD, you know, a little bit on the spectrum or whatever. You don't operate with the same type of neurological functioning and processing as they do. So they already have a bit of a social advantage as it relates to the court of public opinion. So you cannot go the court of public opinion route. That's just something you can't do. And so when you're on that board, okay, when you're on the board, the chessboard of life, and this person has created a game of your life where dismantling you and destabilizing you is personal entertainment in a conquest of theirs, it is going to be so important to know your strengths and weaknesses and also know their strengths and weaknesses as well. So just as they study you, it is so important for you to also study them. So first things first, what are they after? What are they after? They are after control, domination, and they are after making sure that you don't have the ability to be a credible source for information as it relates to them. Okay? That is what they're after, because you knowing parts of them that other people may not be privy to, especially as it relates to poor character and very bad and nasty and evil behavior, that is a threat to the reality that they have curated. They have carefully curated a life of illusions where they are the magician of their life. And how dare you think that you're going to get away, move on with your life, and people actually see you as somebody to be respected? Okay? Because if you're someone to be respected, then that means that the things that you say hold weight and people value not only your opinion, but possibly the intel or the information that they are fearful that you're going to disclose as it relates to them. Even though, on average, you don't give a damn. Okay? Even though, on average, you, 9 times out of 10, don't care. Most people who know dark things about people don't disclose it to other people because it's none of their business. Okay? If it's not directly affecting you or affecting people at large, like innocent parties, but maybe somebody is into some weird stuff, or maybe they live a taboo life or something. But as long as it's not affecting innocent people, you don't care. If it's not 100% directly detrimental to your life, you don't care. But unfortunately, narcissistic people do not process like that. A lot of their instability in what they're trying to do to you is just a projection of what they're going through within. It is a battle within with those people. And so their overall goal is to take that battle within and then force that on you through ambush and trauma to give that to you for you to wear as a costume and for your new identity. And it is also a way for them to destiny alter and destiny swap and take your position of calm, cool, collection, intelligence, and reasoning, and then give you their internal world, which is fear, hysteria, paranoia, always looking over their back, always looking over their shoulder because they've wronged so many people. And they know that with all of the energy that they put out in the atmosphere, because life is a 360-degree cyclical motion, whatever they put out, they will surely get it back, which is why they're always having to swap people out at different random times of their life to keep people as energetic buffers so that they won't have to deal with the direct karma or deal with the direct reaping and sowing because of the evil deeds that they actually carry out. They are some very nefarious people. But don't sleep. Don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on them. Okay? They have a great way of locking in on those who have the same spirit as them, who are around you, who they can use as a sleeper cell. Okay? They have a way of studying human psychology as well because they're always on the hunt for new recruits to siphon. They are always on the hunt for new recruits to siphon or to use in their arsenal at will to carry out their biddings and to help make life easier for them so that they won't have to carry as much weight in this reality. So when they see people who are around you, they're always looking for weak links around you. That's what a lot of that heavy monitoring is. It's looking to see who's in your social network. You know, maybe if you have a man or if you have a woman or if you have friends or business partnerships or whatever you may have going on, who's in close proximity to you that they can use against you for their bidding. And the way that they do that is they just watch the interactions, because a lot of these people, they heavily stalk people. So they could just be hoovering and just stalking the activity, online activity between you and another person. So they're all in the likes to see if you guys are liking each other posts. They're all in the story to see what you're posting and what they're posting. They're trying to see How close are you? What is the correlation? And if that person appears to be weak or insecure in many different ways, whether it be mentally, personality wise, or if they have a need and a desire for belonging or a sense of community or something, but they are always looking for people who are in close proximity to use against you, because the overall goal is to play in your face at your expense and to be dismantling your life right up under your nose, even though they're physically no longer there. They are very twisted and very demented. Okay, that is why it is going to be so important for you to remain poised when destabilization is the motive. You have to be poised. You cannot allow these people to get in your head. And going back to what I said about the battle within, if you can conquer yourself, you can almost conquer any and everybody outside of yourself, because it's not necessarily about you winning and them losing, or them losing and you winning. It is about you being able to observe your own personal emotional state and behavior enough to control your impulses and reactions at will. The moment you find and feel yourself being triggered to provoke to action, you cut it off. You have been with yourself and meditated with yourself and been in company with yourself long enough to know that this thing that I'm displaying, especially if it is a weak or lower vibratory emotion, can be used against me if I operate on impulse. Because if I know the destabilization and dismantling my life or creating some type of weak and faulty foundation so that I will not be successful, or that I cannot be progressive in my life, or that I do not have a thriving life, if that is the goal, then I know that they can't use anyone around me, because maybe you don't have a lot of weak people around you. Okay, maybe you may be the strongest person you know. Okay, maybe that is your close company, or maybe you have one or two, or maybe you have just a lot of surface relationships everywhere and nobody really is as close to you as you would like, but it is just for survival reasons, or maybe you have a lot of trust issues. I do not know. We're human, we're flawed, nobody is perfect. Okay, especially when you go through a lot of trauma, in which a lot of people go through, who are purposeful people in this type of environment, because we are surrounded by narcs, we are surrounded by sociopathic and psychopathic people. So your overall goal is to control your emotions. So that means that the greatest weapon that can be used against you is you. And it is so important for you to understand that if you have ever been triggered by a narc, or if you have ever dealt with or been on the receiving end of the motive to dismantle you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, or financially, you learn and study from that weak moment in your life, because if given the opportunity, they're always watching for vulnerability. Always. Okay? And they're not going to hit you the same way that they did before. It may be letting time pass by and using an opportunity through time passing by to see if, like I said, their dog passed or your dog passed, or maybe a parent of yours passed away, or a moment where you might be sad and down in the dumps about life for whatever reason. And like I said, it could be 3, 5, 10 years will go by. But because they never seen anything like you, and because they didn't completely conquer and destroy you, in the back of their mind, there's a sick and twisted fantasy where they will always be on the conquest to dominate you. And you may not believe that, but that is very true when dealing with psychopathic people. They never let up on that. To not be able to get you to a place beyond repair, it means that they lost something, especially if they rallied up a whole lot of people against you to see you in a very negative light, and you overcome that light and you still put yourself out in the world anyway, despite that bad light that they put on you, or despite that darkness, right? Because it's one of these things where I liken it to someone throwing a veil over a very beautiful person, where they are purposefully trying to hide the beauty of another. So they are hiding that person's identity with lies, smear campaigns, slander, false narratives, all of that type of stuff. So it's like they're throwing a veil to hide you so that nobody will really want to hear you and no one can actually properly see you, because even if you allow yourself to be seen, you won't be seen in the right light, because they operate in the spirit of Leviathan, where they literally twist the communication between this person and that person. They cause a lot of confusion, division, and deception among people. Their overall goal is to get you entangled in this web where you're literally going to war with different people. But they are the source and the puppeteer behind all of those orchestrated quote unquote wars and all of these so-called enemies that you have. They will turn your friends into foes. They will turn your family into enemies. They will turn co-workers against you. They will turn entire communities and environments against you. And it will be so twisted and so demented that if you are not aware of the objective, the motive, and the purpose behind it, then you will be looking around you behind enemy lines, so upset, so angry, so resentful, so enraged with almost any and everybody that you feel like the entire world is against you. And that is their goal, for you to get inside of your head. I called it in my book, Shadow Boxing in the Dark. March 2023, I published a book called Pain. You can get that on Amazon, by the way. And it was just a dark place that I was in my life. And I just talked about my testimony and me overcoming and navigating beyond a lot of trials and tribulations. And I talked about surrendering and detaching from the outcome of an injustice that I was on the receiving end of, and me making a conscious decision to just surrender and make a decision to not shadow box in the dark because my environment was being used against me. And it's nothing that I could have said to sway people to not do something, because people were not doing anything in my face. It was very passive aggressive. It was very strategic, very calculated. It was a behind the scenes movement, but it was directly affecting me. And it was a galvanizing of an entire community against just one woman, one innocent woman, by the way. But instead of being victimized and allowing myself to fall into that trap, I just surrendered and gave it to God. And I always knew in my heart that the individual who was behind creating the dismantling of my life, that person would be seen for who they truly are if I didn't allow myself to fight on the same turf as them and go blow for blow and head for head with that person. Because I knew all of the strengths and advantages that they had over me as it relates to the environment and the social standing that they had. So instead of being ego driven and prideful about my stance as it relates to the injustice that I was facing, I just let them have it. I trusted and believed in God enough that his grace and his mercy was sufficient enough that I didn't have to live my life on the defense, trying to protect myself against something that I knew I did not deserve in terms of the behavior, the mistreatment, the defamation of character, and the galvanizing of people against me. So I just released, because there's no way that I could fight all of those moving parts alone and for no reason. Because even if they create enemies for you, and even if they try to dominate a narrative as it relates to you, and even if they convince people that you are either cruel to them, or you are the one that's creating injustices in their life, or you are the one whatever, because a lot of times they will have some evidence, especially if you have reacted to a problem that they caused as it relates to your life. They will twist your reaction and use that as evidence. See what this person did to me? But what you did was an effect to what they caused. But because they have some level of evidence to twist the narrative and say, see, this is what this person did to me. See, I had to fight against them. See, they are really the narcissist. See, they really tried to make my life a living hell. They will twist your reaction and cultivate an entire narrative around that and use that as evidence. But they will not do it where you can see it, because they know that's defamation of character. They know that you can prove that they were the one who was perpetrating against you. So they will not do it where you can actually gather the evidence to see it, but they will do it behind your back, behind the scenes with other people to try to push a narrative on you that very well may be some truth, but it's not in the way that they are framing it as it relates to the truth. So it's a lot of moving parts with dealing with these people. And the overall goal is to just disengage and see them as a free psychology class. I've been doing a case study for many years as it relates to this type of personality type, their mindset, their tactical approaches, why they operate the way that they do, and how they get away with doing such nefarious, illegal, sometimes even very criminal things to people and come out, quote unquote, appearing to be unscathed. So it is a free psychology class, and it's an opportunity for you to face the battle within yourself as well by looking at your own personal strengths and weaknesses and finding ways to minimize your weaknesses and maximize upon your strengths by not allowing yourself to move when you want to move. A lot of times, especially when I talk about building that case folder, it really doesn't have anything to do with your strong desire for a result of justice, because justice can come in many forms. Sometimes it's not like in the courts or the person goes to jail or something like that. It can come in many different forms in this life, because there is always recompense in this reality in one way or another. So you may not be able to control the outcome or control the result as it relates to the justice that you seek and desire. If you can, building up that case folder alone, it gives you some sense of personal power where you feel like you are getting your life back together again. Because as you build, you are also, people like to say, building a RICO case, right? When we start talking about civil conspiracy and all of the moving parts, especially if it's like group activities, doing things to people, that's like a civil conspiracy where it is a group of people conspiring against another person, especially law-abiding citizens who are innocent, and they're doing nefarious or illegal or criminal things to dismantle the life of other people, causing them any type of emotional distress or what have you. But you can actually build a RICO case of your own and start building what I like to call a case folder, because they do give you a lot to work with. And they believe that by them underestimating you or thinking that you're outnumbered in many ways, or maybe using their positioning in life or whatever the hierarchy is, wherever you are on the social hierarchy, that is what they are working with. Okay. So if they believe that maybe you don't have a lot of connections, which you very well could, right? Especially people who have survived this type of nefarious narcissistic abuse. After a while, when you come out of isolation, you come out a whole different woman, a whole different man, and you strategically start to get a lot of intentional relationships with people who can help make your life easy, because you get tired of taking L's, right? So you get these very beautiful, positive transactional relationships with other people where it is purposeful connections, not any type of just casual connections where you just talking to anybody. These are intentional, purposeful connections. After you come out of isolation and build up your confidence, you end up with a whole community of people. Get your own tribe, get your own village. You know, you have this confidence and now you're fearless. And so you do have people that can properly hear you and properly see you the way that they did not want you to be seen or want you to be heard. And now your words are actually valuable to people. And now what you're saying actually does make sense. And you're in an environment where people do not purposefully misunderstand you because they just don't like you, or they think you're arrogant, or whatever the issues people may have with you. But you are appreciated. Your presence is valued. And when you get to a place and position like that, the energetic playing field, it gets equaled, especially as we're dealing with the social hierarchy of this society. And so building that case folder is so important, because instead of you being hyper fixated on who's doing this and what are they doing now and waiting for the next ambush and all of that stuff, you start to say it is what it is. If the person's going to do something, they're going to do it. You realize that whatever tactics that has been used against you, no matter how evil it has been, if you have survived it, then God's grace, his mercy, and his love and protection is with you. So whatever a person gonna do, they gonna do it. Right? Because you get tired of taking so many L's. Your overall goal is to live a life of purpose where you feel alive again. And so when that is your attitude and God restores that passion and fire and desire within your heart, now you're able to just start building. You're like, yeah, you did that. Right? And you're detached from the outcome. You don't know if it ever is going to lead to anything. Okay? You may not know as it relates to this whole justice thing, quote unquote justice thing, right? But you're just being so patient and calculated with your ability to link this with that and build all of this conspiring against you together to where that if given the opportunity, you can present it in such a way to where it makes sense for the average person. Okay? If life presents the opportunity, you will be able to say, it's not my word against theirs. Here's the evidence. Here's the proof. And you will be so sound and so assured and so laid back and not emotional that a person may be willing to look over what you have compiled. And you link it together so intricately where it would be no confusion as it relates to the nefarious motive of who, the what, the when, and the why. You got it all together. This is something you could have been compiling just for years. Okay? Just for years. Right? I saw this thing where this cult leader, he was getting away with stuff for many, many, many years. I mean, just wicked stuff. And then it was a case where the guy was in a situation where whatever he had did, whatever the young lady said he did, it did not really cause for him to get the type of sentence that he got. But because they used a lot of the evidence that he provided against himself, they were able to build a case so big on that man as it relates to his character, his deception, his manipulation ability, and just his overall evil deeds that the judge was like, you're getting life. You're getting life. What he was originally there for, it did not cause for life, okay? But because he didn't take a plea deal, and I believe because of the ego and the pride, the guy really thought that he could get away with it because he's gotten away with so much in the past. And that's the thing about narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic people. They believe that they are so charming, that they are so intelligent, that they have the gift of gab, and they're so deceptive, and they have the art of persuasion and the art of seduction, that they know how to use people's nature against them. And they pull on the heartstrings of people as it relates to people perpetually giving people the benefit of the doubt and giving others grace, that in any situation, they can persuade people to see what they didn't see. Hear something else that they didn't hear. No, you didn't hear that, you heard this. No, you didn't see that, you saw that. They believe that they are the magicians of this reality and that their magic will work on any and everybody until it is time. Right? Until it is time. And that is not for us to decide. Okay? It's not for us to decide. You know, if you decide to go the faith route and you decide to go the righteous route, time. And as time proceeds and moves forward, you yourself are becoming a better version of yourself by minimizing your weaknesses and maximizing on your strengths, by controlling your emotions and being patient, but not waiting on some type of outcome, but just living your life as though nothing has happened to you. Because when these people do things to you, they wake up every day and make a conscious decision to act like they're not doing a dang on thing to anybody. They live their life in the light as though they are innocent, normal, and just mentally healthy and going on about their business, carrying out their daily affairs. And you're somewhere traumatized out of your mind, in isolation, can't get up and go to work, can't get up and function and go to school, can't go to the gym, can't do almost anything because they have destabilized you and ambushed you and attacked every area of your life so much so that you don't have the strength to move. You're weak. You're vulnerable. You don't even want to show up in life for yourself because that is the type of damage that these people, if we can call them that they do. And they want you to sit in that. They're not banking on you mustering up enough confidence to go on in life like nothing is happening. It takes a lot of strength, a lot of faith, a lot of belief in God to get up every day, go through all these trials and tribulations and all of these unforeseen challenges and still operate like nothing is happening until nothing is no longer happening. It's a very powerful thing. And that is why the word of God is important. Some people have these talking points where they believe that traumatized people turn to spirituality and religion as a way to escape, and then you'll end up in a religious psychosis or spiritual psychosis. Now, in some cases, it could be true. In some cases, it could be not. To be honest with you, I don't necessarily think it's anything wrong with using religion and spirituality as a way to alchemize and transmute the pain that you find yourself on the receiving end of. As long as you don't become so overly religious or so overly spiritual that you're not grounded in yourself, where you don't have any balance. Because the thing about religion and spirituality, and I use that interchangeably, by the way, the thing about it is you are literally using it as a tool for confidence, inspiration, and the motivation to continue to move forward. Because everybody in this reality are trying to make sense of this reality. There is not anybody on this planet that does not use either faith, religion, spirituality, or philosophy to try to make sense of this life and to give themselves a meaning to proceed forward, even when it looks like we're doing the same thing day after day. And it is just a perpetual cycle of what we did the day before. Okay. Life is a very funny, very interesting thing. Okay. It's just a 360-degree cycle of just doing the same thing in different various ways. And then you just go through different stages of life and you go through all of these physical changes. And then this age thing comes on you. Before you know it, you're back at baby stage as an elder person. And then you just transition. It is a very interesting place. Okay. Very interesting, might I add. So I don't believe it's anything, which is why I love God so much. Like, God is the greatest love story of my life. It is everything to me, because to be able to make sense out of all of the affliction and still see the virtues of God and still feel that passion and desire in your heart to carry on and to move forward without feeling slighted or without feeling like you have been robbed of a good life, to go through all of that trauma, go through all of that pain, go through all of that injustice and still feel like life is worth living. It takes a different kind of strength. You are truly living in the scripture that says that the race is not given to the swift nor the strong, but to those who endure to the end. That's a different kind of faith. That's a different kind of commitment for life. It's a different kind of gratitude, a different kind of love, a different kind of understanding and shift of perspective. That's a very high ascending perspective to have in a reality like this, where most people, they do want to experience some level of pleasure, but it seems as though you got more of the pain than the pleasure. But to not feel slighted, like, okay, it is what it is. And just be like, okay, well, for it is good that I have been afflicted, because I would not know your virtues. If it had not been for the darkness, I would not know the light. If it had not been for the hard times, I would not live a soft life. If it had not been for my lows, I would not appreciate my highs. It takes a different kind of ascended master to understand that reality and to not feel slighted by life. And once you get to a place like that, it does not matter who you are or where you go. No tactic, nothing, no one will be able to destabilize you, because you understand that the person that is trying to dismantle you and try to disempower you is a person that is already dismantled and they're already disempowered. Thank you so much for coming to my Jam Talk. I hope that this has been very resourceful for you and it's something that you can work with, alchemize, transmute, incorporate into your daily life as it relates to your growth and development. If this is something that you like, comment, and subscribe. And don't be afraid to comment down beneath and let me know how you have been able to alchemize and transmute beyond the motive to destabilize your life. And if you have lost your mind at any point in your life, can you please share with us how you got it back?